After Pervez Musharraf, the big question that remains in Pakistan is the restoration of the judiciary. According to the facts that were stated, 72 hours after Pervez Musharraf would resign or be impeached, the judges would be restored according to their positions on the 2nd of November 2007. Now, if we go by the facts, the former president's resignation was received by Fahmida Mirza a little after 10 p.m. yesterday, and Thursday 10 p.m. is when 72 hours are up. So Friday is the deciding day. What will happen then? To answer those questions for us, we have the former president of the Sindh High Court Bar and the Supreme Court Bar Association and a leading figure of the lawyers movement, Mr. Muneer A Malik. Sir, thank you very much for your time. Big question right now is, after the 72 hours, what's going to happen? Right now it seems the entire situation is back to square one. Mr. Zardari does not, or I won't say does not, he's not ready to restore the judiciary the way his coalition partners want. PPP, PMLN differences seem to be coming forward again. In fact, the other coalition partners, that's Asfandiar Wali and Maulana Fazlur Rahman, are mediating a compromise. Now, it makes me want to repeat myself again. The lawyers' movement, is it back to square one?
No, it's not back to square one. We've made substantial ground. One of our focal demands was on the restoration of civilian supremacy. I believe that goal has been attained. We sought to change mindsets, to raise the level of consciousness, to put our point of view before the people of Pakistan, what an independent judiciary is, what it means to them, that it is the custodian of their fundamental rights. On that front, we've made gains. The mere fact that the coalition partners sign an Islamabad communique, which is 3 important elements, that all judges will be restored to the 2nd November position, all. That strictly in accordance with the Murray Declaration. So the debate about restoring them by a constitutional amendment, that is gone. The Murray Declaration is a parliamentary resolution and an executive order. These are solemn promises to the people of Pakistan. And immediately after the removal of the biggest impediment that there was, General Pervez Musharraf. So we've gained a lot of ground.
Sir, last night to one of my questions about the lawyers' next step post 72 hours of Musharraf's exit, Mr. Aitazaz Ahsan said something more dramatic than the lawyers' movement.
Well, the broader framework was settled on 19th of July at the Representative Conference of Lawyers in Lahore. Now, when the President Supreme Court Bar, Aitazaz, says that it's going to be more dramatic, I agree with him. Because in the first round of our protest, that is post February 18th, we always had to navigate a very narrow path in the sense that we could not, the form of our protest had to be well deliberated so that it does not give rise to any allegations that we are really paving the way for any interventionist forces. And we are trying to upset the apple cart of the democratic system. So now this promise made to the people of Pakistan is in clear terms. The biggest impediment has been removed. So we believe that the numbers on the streets will be bigger. We believe.
But it is, I'm sorry, sir, it is going to be something like a long march, or are we going to see a mass civil disobedience in the broader context?
The Lahore conference had identified various modes of protests. One of them was a dharna or a sit-in in various cities, culminating with the dharna before Parliament. Then a more effective boycott of the courts. They call it a lockout, but what it really means is not physically locking the courtrooms. It means ensuring that the courts, the lawyers do not attend courts. Then rendering sacrifice, perhaps a movement of court arrest. Then finally the option of the long march or the train march. So we have numerous forms of protest.
Sir, you say the lawyers will not attend courts. That's going to be some sort of a protest there. You're saying you've also, through this movement, shown to the people what an independent judiciary means. But sir, if my figures are correct, please agree with me. If they're wrong, correct me. There are approximately 1 million cases pending in the subordinate court, 60,000 cases pending in the Sindh High Court, 25,000 cases pending in the Supreme Court. If the lawyers do not attend court proceedings, where will Pakistan go? What about the Pakistani people, sir?
You can't look at it, you know, you got to look at it in the broader perspective. This backlog is the abject neglect of the judicial institution for 60 years. I'm not surprised at these numbers. You look at the tenure of Iftikhar Muhammad Chaudhry in the apex court, you know, there were more disposals than there were institutions. The backlog had been cleared, virtually cleared. But for November 3rd, I think we would have been keeping pace with it at the apex court. Now, once you establish an independent judiciary at the top, then it will trickle down to the subordinate courts.
So will the superior judiciary also look at the NRO?
Well, I don't speak for the superior judiciary, but it will hear a case on the merits. But I don't see what the problem is. The courts have already decided on the NRO, even though it may be a de facto court. But under the doctrine of de facto, past and closed transactions are protected.
Mr. Muneer A Malik, the former president of the Sindh High Court Bar Association, the Supreme Court Bar Association, and a leading figure when it comes to the lawyers movement. Thank you very much for your time. That brings us to the end of this discussion, but a very interesting issue, an issue that is right at the peak of matters that need to be decided in Pakistan come Friday. Whether the judges will be restored or not, what the next step is going to be, we have a little bit of an idea from Mr. Muneer A Malik. Let's hope that the leaders of this nation make the right decision.